Hello, welcome to Stain B, where we look at some true crime and make some art. My sister helped write the script, and let's get into it. First, be looking at the Mona Lisa. This is one of the very first true crime cases that I ever got into. It happened when we were stationed in Germany. I begged my parents for years to take us to Paris. I really was interested in art then as well, and I really wanted to visit the Louvre. And finally, after years, it was my senior year, so I was going to be moving back to the US, and I was so excited. I'm gonna see all of these famous paintings. I'm gonna get really inspired. That did happen, but when we got to the room where the Mona Lisa is kept, it's the largest room in the Louvre, and you walk in and there's just mass crowd gathered around the Mona Lisa, which is on the far wall. So you walk into the room and that's the first thing that you see on that wall, and it's the only thing on that giant wall. And I remember thinking, like, it's so small, and I was kind of like, I get it, it's good painting, but why? So then I started looking into why the Mona Lisa is famous. A lot of scholars believe that the painting became so abundantly famous because it was stolen. And it's actually a really interesting story. So let's start with the Mona Lisa. Of course, it was painted by Leonardo da Vinci. It was painted between 1503 and 1519. So Leonardo da Vinci, he worked on this piece for years. It was kind of more of a sketch. It was a painting that he just kind of kept working on. It was never really finished, and it was kind of more of a practice piece, which in itself is very interesting. He was working as the court's painter for King Francis I of France. And upon the artist's death, Francis came into possession of the painting, and it spent centuries as a part of the royal collection. During the French Revolution from 1787 and 1799, the royal collection was taken as property of the people. It then briefly spent some time in the bedroom of Napoleon until the Louvre gained possession of it at the turn of the 19th century. During the 19th century, Da Vinci started to become mythologized as interest in the Renaissance grew. He was seen as not only a great painter, but as a great scientist and inventor. The painting was well regarded in this time, mostly around other artists and writers. Many writers in Europe began to write about her mysterious gaze and her enigmatic smile. But despite this attention, the painting was not close to the fame that it experiences today. That fame began in August of 1911. In the morning of August 22nd, 1911, the French artist Louis Bertrand went to the Louvre to paint the Mona Lisa. When he arrived in the Salon Carré, where the painting was previously housed, the artist found an empty space where the painting should have been. Of course, he asked the security guard where the painting was, and the guard told him that the photography department probably took it. He would do this often without letting anybody know for some reason. The artist was not satisfied with that answer, and he demanded that the guard go figure out where the painting was and when it would be back. After searching, the guard came back and he couldn't find the painting at all, and no one seemed to know where the painting was. After the painting was discovered missing, the Louvre was closed and an extensive search of the museum was started. French authorities were very embarrassed by the sudden disappearance of what they saw as a national treasure. They scrambled to find the painting and who was to blame. They rushed to close the borders and began to search every single piece of luggage leaving the country. Again, it wasn't found. The media, of course, catches wind of this, and they began to sensationalize the theft of the Mona Lisa. Conspiracies became rampant and led to wrongful accusations of some of the important figures of the time, including the museum's director, who ended up resigning after this, the artist Pablo Picasso, and his friend, Guillaume Apollinaire, who was a poet and an art critic. 9 days after the discovery, the Louvre reopened, and the people flocked to see the empty space where the Mona Lisa should have been. French authorities began to question hundreds of people in an attempt to recover the missing painting. They first questioned the employees. The painting had been in her place on Sunday, August 20th. The museum had been closed on Monday for maintenance, and the painting was found missing on Tuesday morning. They went as far as searching one of the employees who had been responsible for placing the glass cases on the paintings in search of the painting, but again, they still could not figure out where it was. A man by the name of Henri Joseph Guéry Perret contacted the Paris Journal, who had offered a reward of 50,000 francs, which today would be about the equivalent of $220,000 to anyone who had information on the Mona Lisa heist. He said that he had possession of statuettes that were also stolen from the Louvre. He led the police to his ex-boss, Apollinaire. Some of the statuettes Pablo Picasso had bought from him as well. And upon being summoned by the magistrate in regards to the Mona Lisa heist, Picasso denied ever even having seen his friend Apollinaire, who of course implicated Picasso in the thefts, which was seen as pretty sketchy. I mean, Picasso is over here like, oh no, I've never seen that guy in my life. And Apollinaire is like, yep, that guy, he did it. Yep. So they probably weren't friends after that. At least I wouldn't be, no. But ultimately, no charges were ever actually pressed since they had no evidence that actually linked them with the heist. 2 years later, after the trail had gone cold, Italian police were contacted by an antiques dealer, Alfredo Guéry, and the director of the Uffizi Gallery, Giovanni Poggi. They stated that they had met a man who claimed to have the Mona Lisa. They went and they met with him and they confirmed the authenticity of the painting. Italian police arrested the man, who turned out to be Vincenzo Perugia. They did, in fact, recover the painting. Perugia was born October 8, 1881, in Dumenza, Italy. He immigrated to France as a carpenter and a decorator. He worked at the Louvre when the heist took place. On Sunday, August 20th, 1911, Perugia hid in the closet overnight, knowing that the next day the museum would be closed for maintenance, making his theft go likely unnoticed for an entire day. His plan worked flawlessly. He knew the exact weaknesses he needed. He had been the one to install the protective glass case. Remember that guy? And he knew that the museum had less than 150 guards total. So if they were all there to cover the 200,000 artifacts, needless to say, security was very lacking. On Monday morning, he waited for the Salon Carré to be completely empty. He took the painting off the wall, he took it out of its heavy frame and left the frame under the staircase under his coat. He slipped the painting under his work smock, unscrewed the knob of a locked door, and let himself out. He took the painting home and concealed it under a tabletop of the same exact dimensions. This is why, despite the French police searching his home, the painting wasn't found until he revealed it 2 years later in 1913. During his trial, he said that he had chosen the Mona Lisa due to his size. It was going to be easy to conceal under his clothes and simply walk out unnoticed. He claimed that his motivation was patriotic. He believed that Napoleon had stolen the painting from Italy and brought it to France, and he had returned it. Due to this, he was regarded as a hero in Italy, and the courts were very lenient and only sentenced him to a year and 15 days. Throughout his trial, he claimed that he worked alone. Yet a year later, Carl Decker, a journalist for the Saturday Evening Post, claimed during a meeting with an Argentinian conman in Casablanca that the conman revealed that he was the real mastermind behind the Mona Lisa heist. This man, known as Marquis Eduardo Valfierno, had been working for years prior to 1911 in the work of art forgery. He began with stealing a painting so that his skilled art forger could copy the work in exact detail. However, he quickly realized that most buyers only cared about the prestige and the value of a painting and couldn't really tell the difference between a Rembrandt and Van Gogh, let alone a copy from the original. The real difficulty was explaining to the buyer why the painting was still on display in a gallery. He then discovered an ingenious way to convince the buyer that the art in the gallery was actually the copy and not the other way around. He would accompany them to the gallery with the painting he proposed to steal. When no one was looking, he would have the buyer mark the back of the canvas so that they would know that it was the same one as the one in the gallery. In reality, he had previously stashed the copy behind the original painting, so the buyer was actually marking the copy. Later, Valferno would then simply remove the copy from the back of the original and deliver it to the buyer. This worked super well, and soon he set his sights on a bigger score. He found 6 different American buyers who agreed to purchase the Mona Lisa. Valferno had his forger make 6 copies and then took them one by one through New York Customs as to not raise suspicion. He then enlisted Perugia to steal the painting with the help of 2 associates, since the glass, frame, bracing, painting would weigh a total of 220 pounds. Once the painting was stolen and news quickly spread worldwide, he had his associates contact the buyers and collected the millions on the previously made copies. They all split the spoils and went their separate ways. All went according to plan, except Perugio stole the Mona Lisa back from Valferno and took it back to Italy to sell it, where he got caught. This story was remarkable, and many reports state that Perugio did have 2 accomplices that hid with him in the closet that Sunday night. Although this would be a fascinating, bigger explanation of why the painting was stolen, unfortunately the gang theory has some holes. First of all, Decker claims that Valferno related one tense moment during the heist where a stolen key didn't fit the lock, and an unassuming guard came by and opened the door for Perugio and his associates, despite nothing like this was revealed during the investigation. The Louvre reports that the Mona Lisa, including the frame, would only have been about 20 pounds, making it easy for Perugio to have done it himself. And third of all, there is absolutely no information to be found on Valferno besides Decker's story. There is no record of that name, and none of his information has been substantiated. So it's unlikely that there was a criminal mastermind orchestrating the heist. But who knows, maybe Decker was telling the truth. Journalists never lie. Right. They never do. It would be cool though, regardless of if there was a nefarious gang activity that hired Perugio, it was in fact him who stole the Mona Lisa and launched it into view of the world. Perugio ended up serving only 7 months and 4 days of his already meager sentence before he was enlisted in the Italian army during World War I. After this, he was married and he moved back to France. How he was able to do this, I don't know. If I was in charge of a country, I'd be like, no, you already stole from us once. Let's not do that again. Just also, he did it for patriotism, so I don't know why he's also leaving his country if he stole for them. I don't know. Who knows? Regardless, he went back to France and opened a paint store. According to his daughter Celestina, he died of a heart attack in 1925. He was buried in France, which, again, still weird. So the Mona Lisa is famous not because it's a remarkable painting, although it is amazing in its own right, but more because one man, probably one, decided that the painting should belong to Italy. The heist brought the worldwide attention to this one painting that may have otherwise gone unnoticed except by those in the art community. Later, artists starting in 1919 with Marcel Duchamp enjoyed the recreation of the Mona Lisa with their own unique twist. Duchamp gave her a beard and mustache. Mona Lisa is now probably the most famous and recognizable portrait by anyone, not just those who are interested in art. But it's crazy that these events and the choice of one man, probably, is what led to the Mona Lisa being so famous and how it's viewed today. I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope to see you next week where we're going to get a little bit darker. Stay curious and creative.